Well, at 42 minutes past the hour, in our Faces of Faith this morning, preachers known for teaching the scripture, saving sinners, trying to heal the sick. This morning, though, as a part of our Black in America series, we introduce you to one member of the clergy whose quest is to cure you from the almighty debt. The story now from our Soledad O'Brien.
Live within your means. People that don't manage their money wisely are not managing our lives wisely.
Soaries is the senior pastor at First Baptist Church of Lincoln Gardens in central New Jersey, and he's on a crusade. He thinks Black America has a new enemy. Is debt a bigger problem than racism?
Yes, debt is a bigger problem than racism.
You didn't even hesitate.
There's no question to me that debt is a bigger problem than racism.
It's a provocative theory, but Soaries stands by his claim.
1 out of 5 of us has no bank account. We still do payday loans, we still do rent to own, but you see, we'll drive shiny cars and we'll wear designer clothes, and we have all of the appearances of doing well, but we won't admit that we're broke. Being in debt is slavery. When I'm paying last month's bills with next month's check, that's slavery. When I'm writing a check hoping that it doesn't bounce, or when I pull out my credit card praying that it's not rejected, then I'm living in financial bondage.
It's a problem exacerbated in today's economy, the worst since the Depression.
Bow our heads.
Longtime church members Doug and Mary Jeffries feel like they're living in financial bondage. They've refinanced their home twice and are now on the verge of foreclosure. They've turned to their pastor for help.
One day, I just broke down. We were at a funeral at the church, and then Soaries in his inimitable style pulls up and, you know, what's up, man? How you doing? And I said, Pastor, I ain't doing so well today. He said, well, what's going on? And that's when I just, you know, I had to tell him what the deal was.
Douglas kind of convinced me that he was going to ask anyway, and I said, well, okay, but I was reluctant.
Was it embarrassing?
Oh, yeah, quite.
Why help Doug and Mary Jeffries? Super nice people. In a way, they make enough money they could just move to another place.
You can't assume that a person who's middle income and has problems is less impacted by their problems than a person who's lower income that has problems.
Now, you can see more about that, Reverend, as he battles against debt. That's tonight. A very special replay of Black in America, Almighty Debt, tonight, 8 o'clock Eastern, right here on CNN. Now, financial assistance from a church, not really anything new, but in the past, it's mostly been about donations to those in need. Now, a lot of churches are reaching out here now, offering classes in financial literacy. Joining me this morning, pleasure to have Senior Pastor of Atlanta's Ebenezer Baptist Church, the Reverend Raphael Warnock. Sir, good to see you again.
Good to be here with you, TJ.
Now, you heard the pastor in that piece there talking about debt being worse than racism. You agree with that? And what does that mean exactly, you think?
Well, you really can't separate the two. They're inextricably connected. It's interesting that Dr. King, when he came to our nation's capital, as he described the legacy of slavery and segregation, he said that America had written the Negro, he said, a check that had come back marked insufficient funds. So this relationship between freedom and financial prosperity are inextricably connected. We have to agitate and challenge institutions to change their behavior. Most of the subprime loans are targeted towards African Americans. At the same time, we have to challenge people to change their personal behavior.
Now,
and this is why we're building the financial center.
Which is it more so? We're talking about systematic hurdles that get in the way and keep minorities, Black people, Latinos down in some way in this debt? Or is it a matter of personal responsibility and financial literacy?
I really think it's both and.
Yeah.
Racism is reinforced and calcified at every level of the society. Blacks still are the ones who were targeted for these subprime loans. We saw the largest loss of wealth among blacks in the last 8 years, largely as a result of these subprime loans in modern U.S. history. So we have to address that. But at the same time, there's some things that people can do, and that's why we're building a financial center at Ebenezer Baptist Church to help people understand money.
A lot of people might not, it might not trigger initially, but you're now a senior pastor at Ebenezer Baptist here in downtown Atlanta, where Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Used to preach. Now, a lot of people might hear building a financial center there, and it might not, quite frankly, make a lot of sense to them, but there is no more perfect place, quite frankly, to put it.
That's right. We were very fortunate. About a year ago, I connected with a young man by the name of John Hope Bryant. He runs something called Operation Hope. They have these Hope banking centers, about 9 of them, in metropolitan cities across the United States. This will be the first one in a church. And so as people come to Hope Ebenezer, to our Ebenezer Financial Center, which will be housed in a community center named after Daddy King, we quite frankly, you know, I'm a Baptist preacher, we want them to have a conversion experience. We want to convert them from renters to homeowners, convert them from being check cashing customers to banking customers, convert some of these poor credit scores.
And we know how churches can play a hand in educating their parishioners, but at the same time, on kind of on another front, how does one's faith factor into their finances?
Oh, faith is very important, and I have to tell you, I'm really seeing it in my church, and as I move through the community, people are under a lot of stress these days, and their faith holds them, but at the same time, we've got to connect inspiration to information.
All right. Well, Reverend Warnock, we appreciate you coming by. What's the lesson this morning? I know you got to get back over and preach. What are you preaching?
I'm going to talk about the love of God.
The love of God.
And I thought I'd come by and see you, TJ. I hope to see you in church soon.
See, this is what we're going to start doing on Sundays. Bring the pastor to me every Sunday right here on CNN Sunday Morning. Good to see you as always, so man. Thanks for coming by. Thanks for coming by. Suzanne.